Hi, welcome to another awkward episode of Comics and Cosmetics. This week we're talking about the character that Kathryn Hahn absolutely nailed on screen, Agatha Harkness. I am super excited about this one, so let's dive right in and find out everything we can about the witch herself. Well, hey, welcome back. I'm Danny Sanssouci, licensed cosmetologist and registered super nerd, and this is Comics and Cosmetics, the corner of the internet where you come to watch some middle-aged woman do makeup inspired by whatever nerdy crap she's talking about that day. And today's subject is Agatha Harkness. That's right, the witch from WandaVision that inspired the bop. It was Agatha all along. Why am I doing this when I should be doing that for a living? Your guess is as good as mine. But let's get into it. As we all know, Agatha Harkness is a witch. But how old is she? Well, she's old enough to remember before the sinking of Atlantis. About 500 years to be exact. That is roughly 10,800 BC Marvel Standard Time. Much like the Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Stephen Strange, her purpose is to keep the mystical forces in balance. In fact, in the comics at least, she is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme himself. That's a fact, Jack. Though she isn't exactly a good person, she isn't exactly a bad person either, despite what the MCU WandaVision show demonstrates to us, the turn they took with her character there. She's just a person who isn't afraid to get the job done. She isn't afraid to do something bad for a good purpose. She is a complicated, loyal, dedicated to those she cares for and the mystical forces, sometimes ruthless, but it's always for a good reason. She definitely is a problem solver with solutions that others just don't have the stomach for. Case in point, her stance during the Salem witch trial. Yeah, that was controversial for witches like herself. So she saw it as character building. She saw them attacking and burning witches at the stake as a chance to strengthen all witches everywhere. You know, struggle, strife, builds character, am I right? She had transported her coven to Colorado and named the place New Salem. It was a little magical community in a pocket dimension just adjacent to our own. It was a safe haven for other witches, warlocks, wizards, and other magical beings and creatures alike. There she met with a few other centuries-old witches, and they formed a coven where she became the Grande Dame. She became their leader. And she stayed that way for some time, until she decided, we need some character building. We've got some weak links here and I need to weed them out to strengthen our little coven. So she starts undercover, of course, secretly sneaking around and basically turning these weak link witches over to witch hunters who subsequently kill them. But she felt like she was doing the right thing because you need to make sure you got a strong coven. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So she just let them die. Just let them die. Many years pass and she leaves New Salem. We don't really get told why. In fact, we don't have a whole lot of backstory information on Agatha because her main purpose as a character is support. She's there to support our other main MCU characters. Very powerful supporting character nonetheless, but She's a support character. So we don't get a whole lot of backstory on her. Just that she was born 500 years before the sinking of Atlantis, and she's a super mega powerful witch, and she founded New Salem in Colorado. But she eventually leaves New Salem and decides to become a governess for superpowered children. She wants to help these kids accept and learn to live with and control their overpowered abilities. Now, she does this for a very long time at her estate in upstate New York called Whisper Hill, but then eventually retires, and she just lives there with her magical cat and companion, Ebony. Until she hears that Franklin Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, have had a little baby boy. Franklin Richards, aka the future god of the MCU. Now, this kid grows up to be so powerful that the writers for the MCU had to eventually put him out to pasture because he was too powerful, and it would just be too easy. Like, if any problem showed up, all you gotta do is call Franklin Richards and boom, fixed, problem solved. So Agatha gets contacted because at this point she's been known to be a governess for these superpowered children. And this is actually Agatha's very first appearance in Marvel Comics. It was Fantastic Four #9, January 1970, The Return of the Frightful Four. That's their arch nemesis at this time, the Frightful Four. Like, super clever, right? Yeah, it was the late 60s, early 70s. What do you expect? They thought kids were stupid. So when Agatha realizes who it is that is asking her to be the governess for her children, they're like, hey, Aggie, so I got your number from a friend of mine, and you came highly recommended. See, we just had a baby, and we are in no way interested in stopping being superheroes right now. We want to keep putting ourselves in danger, and we realize that's not exactly a healthy environment for a child. Okay, so we need someone to take care of our little baby, and we want you to do it. And she's like, well, I'm retired, but Franklin Richards, you say? Oh, yep, I'll do it. Yep, do it. Come on over. So we learn that Agatha isn't just some little old lady who likes to be a nanny or a governess, because she knows something's up with that baby. She knows something is going to happen, and this kid is just going to be seriously overpowered. So she's like, yeah, I'll do it. Come up. And we see her waiting at her door with Ebony, like, won't be long now. We get these hints that there is far more to Agatha than just being this little old governess lady. So the Fantastic Four show up, and everyone makes their introductions. Agatha's like, look, it's really late, okay? It's stormy. It's probably not safe to travel right now. So why don't you guys just each pick a room? It's a pretty big house. Pick a room and stay the night and leave in the morning. And they're like, okay, cool, we'll do that. Well, unbeknownst to everyone, the Frightful Four, the arch nemesis of the Fantastic Four, had figured out what they were doing, that they'd gone on a trip, and followed them to Whisper Hill, and were lurking to make their move. So the Frightful Four actually incapacitate Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and Ben Grimm, the Thing, and lock Sue Storm and Reed Richards in their room. So after they have incapacitated the Fantastic Four, they go to make their move on little baby Franklin Richards to kidnap him, because, I mean, how else would you harm your rivals if not, attacking the innocent child. The Frightful Four make their move to attempt to kidnap Baby Franklin, and they run into Agatha in the hallway. This is pretty funny. So they run into Agatha in the hallway, and she just looks like some little old lady. Like, oh, you might want to get out of the way, okay? Because we'll hurt you. We've got a job to do, and we'll hurt you. And Agatha just doesn't even sweat it, doesn't even flinch. And she looks at them and's like, oh, you wouldn't hurt a little old lady like me now, would ya? And the Frightful Four are like, lady, we don't give a... We don't. We really don't. We're going to hurt you. So move. And she warns them one more time. She's like, look, my cat Ebony is getting kind of pissed. Like, look at her. And Ebony turns into this giant magical panther. And Agatha just goes like, magic, bitch. And blasts them and just destroys them right then and there. When the Fantastic Four come to, they run to go check on Franklin and Agatha, and they find them both in Agatha's room. Agatha's rocking him gently, and Franklin's like, oh my God, are you okay? Everything's all right. And Agatha's like, yeah, be quiet, the baby's sleeping. I'm like, oh, cool, my bad, my bad. Well, as they're leaving the room, Ben Grimm, the Thing, notices a book sitting next to Agatha. And this is how they basically tell all of us readers that she is in fact a witch. This book is called Old Tales of Salem, or Tales of Old Salem. And the Thing's like, okay, like surely we wouldn't leave the baby with a witch. And she's like, yeah, who would do that? And that's how we first are introduced to Agatha. Pretty cool, huh? I'd say that's a pretty classy introduction. So the years go by, and she's still with the Fantastic Four. She has helped Franklin by kind of putting some mental blocks in his mind so he doesn't go too crazy with his powers. And she's been working with him on how to control them. Well, as I said, it was pretty apparent to her that Franklin was going to be this beyond omega powered mutant, this super powered being. And if it was that apparent to her, I mean, safe to say that it would be pretty obvious to other magical beings. And through this, in comes Mephisto. Well, Mephisto, gets word of little old Franklin, and he realizes what he's going to be. And the amount of power that this child has, like he's a child at this point, he's not a baby anymore. The level of power that Franklin has really freaks Mephisto out. Like he gets really worried. So he kidnaps Franklin and decides, I'm gonna lock him, like his astral self, in this little crystal case. And that'll protect me from future grown-up Franklin. Well, Doctor Strange, Agatha, Sue Storm, and Mr. Fantastic all go to Mephisto's realm to save Baby Franklin. They're like, we're gonna go down there, we're gonna save him. And they realize that the reason why Mephisto took him is because he is just absolutely terrified of him. So Doctor Strange releases Baby Franklin. Well, he's not a baby anymore. He releases child Franklin from this crystal, And Mephisto is like, oh, everything's still okay, you know, I'll just zap him. And Franklin's like, nah, bad guy, you're gonna go away. Like, he literally says, no, bad guy, gone. And he blasts him, and that is what separates Mephisto's soul into all those shards across reality. Like, that is how Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, was able to get those soul shards from Mephisto to create her two children. That easy, huh? That's all you had to do? From there, Agatha stays for a while longer. You know, Franklin's still a child. She's still learning him a few things. In fact, it was she who warned Reed Richards that, hey, your kid is way too stupid powerful, and he's going to get even more powerful. In fact, you need to go like right now to the Baxter building and put him in a coma or something, because he's about to erase reality. So she like magically teleports Reed Richards back to the Baxter building, where he's able to put his own child in a coma so he doesn't erase reality. Like, it was that flippin' serious. But at some point in Franklin's childhood, we meet Nicholas Scratch. And it's here that we are introduced to the town of New Salem, and that Agatha had been the boss, she the boss of New Salem. We are never told why she eventually left, but she did. And after she left, her son, Nicholas Scratch, and his children, the Salem 7, took over. Well, he was able to convince that little witch colony, that safe haven sanctuary, that his mother, Agatha, had committed treason and betrayed them all by leaving New Salem, taking up with the superheroes, the Fantastic Four, and basically letting them in on the joke that she's this mega ancient, super powerful witch. So Nicholas Scratch and the Salem 7 kidnap Agatha and Franklin, like both of them. They kidnap both of them and take them back to New Salem to stand trial. Luckily for our girl Aggie and Franklin, the Fantastic Four were able to follow them to New Salem, where they defeat the Salem 7 and free Agatha. This whole situation kind of reveals to the residents of New Salem Nicholas Scratch's true intentions, and that he really was a bad guy. Like, he was evil, like straight up. And Agatha makes the very difficult decision of banishing him to the dark realm. Like, how sad. Like, your son has messed up so bad that you have to banish his ass to a whole different dimension, and it's called the dark realm. That sucks. I've had to make some hard decisions with my children, be like, nah, you made your bed, go lie in it, learn a lesson, teachable moment. But I've never had to banish them to the dark realm. After she's banished Nicholas, then you have the moment where she's like, hey, Reed, your kid's about to erase reality. Maybe I should like zap you back to the Baxter building and you could put him in a coma. Like, this kid has had a really rough life already. And again, Nicholas Scratch is like, I need to get back at my mom's because she's a butthole. So he decides to possess Franklin and steal some of his power. Oh, poor Franklin. Poor Franklin Richards. He gets possessed by Nicholas Scratch, by his nanny's evil ass son. And again, Agatha has to do like the toughest thing ever and depower her child and send his butt back to timeout in this dark realm. The little Franklin gets older, and Agatha's like, you know what? You're doing pretty good, kid. I think it's time for me to move on. There's other people that need my particular set of skills. And that's where she decides to start mentoring and tutoring Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. And Wanda's like, oh my God, really? Really? But you know, I'm not really a witch. It's just a name. It's mostly poetry. And Agatha's like, nah, it's not. She knows who Wanda really is. And she knows that she needs to help her come to grips with the reality of who she really is and teach her how to control this, because things could go really bad. And they do. As we covered in our Scarlet Witch, Wanda, and, Vision episode, we know already that that was a really crappy situation. But thank God Agatha was there to help her. And you can kind of tell that Agatha seems to be doing this stuff, this tutelage of Franklin Richards and Wanda Maximoff, as a sort of penance. That there's this intense guilt she feels, like this intense responsibility she feels for the Salem 7 and her son Nicholas Scratch. And so her atonement for these problems that her offspring have caused is to help other superpowered people for the forces of good. So it's thanks to Agatha that the Scarlet Witch realizes, yeah, she's a witch. And she begins working with her, teaching her how to use her chaos magic and her hex powers. She teaches her actual sorcery. She had explained before, like to Dr. Strange, that, listen, when you were just cells forming in your mommy's tum-tum, I was mastering sorcery and the spiritual realm, like, all day, every day. So don't get too big of a head, buddy. Okay. But she's training the Scarlet Witch to use and control the chaos magic and sorcery. And after Wanda and Vision get married, before they retire to, good old Jersey, which I still find hilarious, they take a little trip to New Salem, because like I said, it's a safe haven. Only magical people can get there. And Wanda, being a magical people, was able to get there. So her and Vision go and visit, and right away they are attacked by the Salem 7. They're like, what you doing here, girl? You are way too powerful. We don't like you. We're up to stuff, and we don't want you to find out. They had taken Agatha, the Salem 7, had taken her, tied her to a pyre, and decided, you were mean to our daddy, and you've got a lot of power, so we're going to take it from you. We're going to burn you at the stake. And Agatha's like, you have no idea what you were doing. You have no idea. So one of her grandchildren that's part of the Salem 7, Vertigo, takes her power. Like, absorbs all of Agatha's power. But it's too much for her. It's way too much for Vertigo. And subsequently starts just decimating New Salem, like totally destroying it. Agatha, however, as she had previously said, you have no idea what you're doing. You don't know the extent of my abilities. She astral projects from beyond the grave to Wanda. Like, she shows up to Scarlet Witch in astral form, and she's like, hey, you need to go over there and you need to get my power back from Vertigo and try to funnel it elsewhere. And Wanda's like, okay, I can do this. I can totally do this. So she does. She absorbs Agatha's power from Vertigo, diverting it, you know, funneling most of it or some of it away from New Salem. But this gives Wanda a superpowered boost, like mega superpowered boost. And it was with that power that she gained, that energy that she gained from Agatha, she was able to snatch those shards of Mephisto's soul and create her two babies. So we talked about Wanda's ability to create these two children, Billy and Tommy, with the two shards of Mephisto's soul in episode 2 last week about, you know, WandaVision and the source material. So we'll just gloss over it extremely briefly in this one. But if you recall, her and Vision had retired to Jersey after Agatha's death, and Wanda really wanted kids, and she's so super powered, souped up from the power she got from Agatha that she took from Vertigo, that she was able to make embryos out of those shards of Mephisto's soul and implant them within herself, not realizing that's what she had done. And of course, like every time Agatha dies, she comes back right in the nick of time. And it is out of her love for Wanda. Like, she's the daughter she never had. She really, really genuinely loves Wanda. And it's out of her love for her and obviously, her desire to save the world, that she removes those memories of Wanda's children from her. Despite how Agatha may go about things, she really does love Wanda like a daughter, like big time. It was Agatha that helped her down the witch's road, which is this thing that, you know, witches do as like a rite of passage. But she helps her down the witch's road as a ghost and helps her discover her true parentage, like who her mother is. And it's Agatha who helped Wanda be born again, you know, born anew after she's attacked by the Nexus being Lore. Because once you're a Nexus being, other Nexus beings want your Nexusness. Yeah, if you got power, other people want it. But she is reborn again, and Agatha's the one who helped her through that after Lore attacked her. And it was also Agatha that helped Doctor Strange and Wanda understand the Darkhold, this mystical dark grimoire that was written by and infused with the power of the demon god Chthon, who was the reason why, one of the reasons actually, why Wanda was born so overpowered, because, you know, she's born in the same place in the same time that Chthon was defeated. When magic started disappearing from the universe, it was Agatha that helped Wanda get to the bottom of it. And this is, you know, after Wanda has killed her. Wanda freaked out and Avengers Disassembled when she realized, you know, oh my God, I had these kids and you erased them from my memory. How dare you? She freaks out and murders Agatha, like her old friend, tutor, woman who's been like a mother to her. She kills her. And yet Agatha's still there for her. She's still offering her help and love and assistance, because every time, you know, magic's disappearing. And every time Wanda tries to use it, it kills her. With the help of the ghosts of her mother, Wanda Maximoff, and Agatha Harkness, and, you know, some support from her brother Quicksilver, she is able to find out that the reason for magic disappearing is because of chaos. And the three of them are able to defeat him, like, for good. However, chaos had seriously injured the goddess of magic. And they were like, oh no, if she dies, you know, there's no magic ever anymore. So what are we gonna do about it? Well, Natalia, Wanda's mom, sacrifices herself to restore the goddess of magic, therefore restoring magic everywhere, and actually restoring Agatha back to life, like in physical form. I'm telling you, you can't keep a good witch down. You just can't. You know, Wanda was really happy to have Agatha back. She calls her an old drama queen, which I kind of love. And Agatha is like, yeah, I know. I'm glad I'm back too, because I think after all these centuries, I've earned some me time. And so I'm gonna go to the Hamptons and I'm gonna kick it at a nude beach, because why not? If you're like an 11,000-year-old, all-powerful, all-knowing mega witch, let's go check out some butts. These days, Agatha can be found with the Daughters of Liberty, where she has trained and taught most of its members. And again, she has been a supporting character in the comics, you know, more of a background character. So you don't see much of her. I mean, if you do, she's not really doing much. She's just kind of there if we need her. She's known as the trainer of the magical arts in the Marvel universe. Now, clearly, WandaVision has had a different take on our favorite millennia's old witch. It is unclear why they've taken this route to Agatha's character, or what they plan on doing with her in the future. But I'm pretty stoked to find out, like, maybe there's a reason why she's become such a selfish bitch. Maybe there's a reason why now she's just trying to get all this power for herself. But it very clearly, something took a turn with Agatha, because she wasn't necessarily a bad guy. She wasn't necessarily a villain. I mean, she did some sketchy shit, but there was always a reason for that. And I think the what is she up to, who is she really vibe from the comics did kind of translate into the show a bit, because we still don't really know why Agatha was doing all that, how she got there, what was she gonna do with that magic, like what was she up to? We still don't know. Hopefully we'll find out in House of Harkness. I'm pretty stoked about that. That seems like a really, really, really cool show. I mean, why not? It's friggin' Agatha all along. I did it again, yay. I'm really curious to see if House of Harkness is going to be kind of a, you know, a sequel to WandaVision, or season 2 for WandaVision, since, you know, we're not getting any more. And it has come out that will we or won't we get more WandaVision is kind of up in the air with Marvel. At first, they hadn't planned on it. They hadn't planned on a season 2 at all. But after the absolute crazy response they got to it, they're like, I mean, we're not thinking about ever doing another season. And I'm hoping that they'll explore Agatha more, like flesh out a better backstory for her, more so than what we have. We don't know anything about how Agatha came into her own as a witch. We just know that she was born about 500 years before the sinking of Atlantis. And that's it. That's all we know. And to be fair, she was just a background character. So Marvel saw no need, Marvel being, you know, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, who created her, they saw no need to give a in-depth backstory to a secondary background character. Nor would I, if I was writing that. Look at me while I gloss. You really got to give it to Kathryn Hahn, because she really gave this character its first front and center story. Like, this is the first time in Agatha's history where people have just gone crazy for her and seen her as a serious main player. So, good job, Kathryn Hahn. Fun fact, that really is Kathryn Hahn singing "It Was Agatha All Along." So, you got her to thank for that catchy little bop. And there you go. Them's the facts on Miss Agatha Harkness, the most powerful badass witch in all the MCU. The one where we don't know exactly what she's up to all the time, but we like it. The MCU has taken a totally cool spin on her character, and I can't wait to see what they come up with in Agatha House of Harkness. Are they going to explore more of a backstory for her? Are they going to explain what made her, what drove her into absorbing all of this power just for her own personal gain? I don't know, but I'm really excited to find out. Again, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. Please hit like and subscribe if you liked what you saw today. I really crave validation, and I check it about 1,000 times a day. So if you don't mind, please remember to hit like, please remember to hit subscribe, and I will be back here next week with another 45 minutes to an hour of nerdy stuff and makeup, which are two of my favorite things in the whole wide world. Thanks again for coming by to Comics and Cosmetics, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.